everybody, and welcome to David Divine broadcasted on a Tuesday night instead of Thursday this week, which is something we're going to start doing more often on Tuesday nights. Tonight, we're joined by Brad Slitt and Don Foose. It's going to be awesome. If you have questions for the guys, ask in the chat, and we'll try to get your questions answered. And what's going on, Buff? Mikey's Beach, good to see you. Lord Spike Proteins, Calm, good to see that. What's up, Cashew? Mike Jones. Let's see. All right. I think that's everybody so far, guys. Welcome. Welcome to the show Tuesday night.
What's up, guys?
Hey. What's up,
man? So like I said, we got we're joined by Brad Slitt from Priscilla and Don Foose. Don Foose from Spudmonsters and One Life All In. Don Foose, also in the description, his link is posted for his website, fooseforlife.com. So go check Don's website out. He's got books. I'll let him talk about it, and then I'll ask some specific questions. But Don, how you doing? And tell us about your website.
Good, man. Thanks a lot for having me on. And Brad too. My website, fooseforlife.com. I've written a couple books, one on raw vegan foods, juice fasting, elixir crafting, and, it's just raw, healthcare. And it's got that stuff on there. Music's on there. I have a whole gift shop on there, clothing and stuff. And it's going pretty well.
Awesome.
I can personally say that Don makes some very delicious drinks. I've had them.
That's right. We've elixir together before.
Yeah, I think you have. I think you actually have told me about Don. I didn't know at the time that you were actually talking about Don, but you were talking about his shakes. Hi, Andy. Good to see you. But Brad, what do you? We got to put the link in to Brad's Facebook. But of other things, what do you got going on Facebook or wherever else? Welcome to the show, and introduce yourself. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah. Brad.
Well, I'm Brad Slitt. I'm singing for Priscilla, and I'm here to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
All right.
I've made movies. I play rock and roll, and I'm a personal friend of Don Foose's, which is what I usually lead with. When I meet people, I say, "Hey, I'm a personal friend of Don Foose's." They're like, "No way."
Oh yeah. Well, I'm adding that to my list too. I'm glad that he's here. That hopefully after this I can add.
You should. Good man to know.
His friend to the end, to the end of my introduction.
Here's one honest truth. Don Foose is one person that I have never. There's no one could say a bad word about Don. I've never heard a bad word said, and I could never say a bad word. He gives off a positive energy, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm being dead serious, man. Like, no BS. It's just a vibe, dude. It's a peaceful, cool vibe, man. Like, it really is. And it's just good, awesome, man. Like, you don't meet a lot of people like that. Like, that are just good.
You're awesome.
Everyone should be. I strive for that, but I fall way short, Don. Like, you and I, when we talked long ago at your house, and it's like, I've grown a lot since then, but I always fall short. Like, there's just, maybe I have a couple more lives to live before I get it right or something. I don't know. But I really strive, and I've grown a lot, and I've learned to understand the universe more, understand my place in it, and be a good person. But I still let the world get to me. You know what I mean? And like you're it's like you're immune to that. That's like and I'm running with this whole thing right now. But like my big takeaway from you is that like, you don't let things get to you, man, but I do, and I try not to, but I still do.
Well,
anyways, that's what I have to say.
I wake up early in the morning between 4 and 5 a.m. and I meditate first thing in the morning, and then you put your armor on for the day. If you get your mind straight and the body straight before you leave the house, then when negativity bombards you in the real world, it'll just wick off you if you're properly situated before you leave the house. So that's one of the things I wrote about in my latest book, Motivate Me, is that, making sure you prepare yourself before you leave the house so that you be the inspiration on others rather than take their negative energy. So I appreciate your kind words, though. I fall short in many ways myself. I mean, you're too kind.
And maybe, and I think everyone falls short upon themselves, like they feel they do. But like, as an observer, it's easier for someone else to look at you, just like it's like easier to look at your life in the rearview mirror, like at what you've done. You don't assess it in the moment. Most people don't. I don't. And then you look back on and say, this is what I did right and this is what I did wrong. But like my observations of you, and I'm not around you every day, 24/7, but like
right.
the parts of you that I've known and that I've seen and that I've observed and watched, whether it's other interviews of you, knowing you personally, and that it's always been good, like.
Thank you.
I want to chime in real quick so I can get it off screen. I've left it up for a while, but I wanted to say, let Don know that TNF podcast is in the house, and they say Jake Curtis in the house.
Oh yeah.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Yeah. My man, Haribo.
There you go.
There you
cool,
go.
man.
So before it passed by in chat, I wanted to chime in with his comment real quick.
Thank you.
Go ahead and continue. And that's awesome of you, Brad. And it's great that we started this Tuesday with a vibe like that, like you're talking about with Don, because that's what Tuesdays are going to be about. It's going to be about people with good vibes, good energy, doing good things. And what I've seen when Don sent me his documentary yesterday, that's what it was all about. It was really incredible, Don. I have to concur with Brad on that.
Yeah. Thanks. That's cool, man.
It's genuine, man. None of that's BS, And that's
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that on Don's website, he's got a 15-minute documentary, and he starts I won't spoil it all, so you got to go watch it. But this is at the very beginning. But Don tells a story in his car of David Lee Roth, which, if you wouldn't mind telling us that story, that was an incredible example of what we're talking about, man.
Yeah, David Lee Roth, when Van Halen hit the peak of their stardom, he was back in Pasadena, California, where he had gone to high school, and he ran into some of his old classmates in the streets. And the one guy said, "Oh, it must be nice being David Lee Roth, the singer of Van Halen." He was kind of being sarcastic. And David Lee Roth quickly retorted. He said, "You know what? On graduation day, we were all on the same starting blocks. You chose that bank job. You're going to die in that cubicle." And he said, "I chose to sail the seas of consequence." And I remember when I heard that story, blew my mind. I was like, that's it, man. That's my life. I'm willing to take risks. I'm willing to sail the seas of consequence so that, I could experience the world. So many people live in fear of failure, but it's like, I'd rather go out and fall on my face 315 times and experience the treasures of life that, you can conquer if you really set yourself and really go for it, then, just stay at home and get some office job glued to a cubicle, 9 to 5, so that's Absolutely. The way I've lived my life.
I'm going to tell you something. That's so true. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, quickly, I was just going to say hi to the Falcro. Hey, Anthony Belfi. Good to see you. Rick Fagan is saying Foose.
Hey, Rick Fagan. We were talking about
what about Slitt?
All right. Well,
here's the thing.
We'll get some slits in there. All right. We'll get some slits.
I was just talking to someone earlier. I might have been Billy Morris. I don't know. I was just talking to someone today about kind of what you touched on there with what David Lee Roth said, Don. People that try to knock you down, and people. Okay, I'm gonna put here's a good generality of saying it. There's people like in the local music scene or entertainment scene or in other bands or whatever that did it for a while 30 years ago, or maybe they're just getting into it now, or maybe they've been around. I've done it nonstop, not nonstop continuously, but on and off nonstop for 35, almost 40 years, as have you, Don. And I've given up so much of my life to try to do the things I've done, to create art, to make movies, to make music, to be in bands, to tour, to do the things I've done. I've given up a lot. I've given up friendships. I've given up family. I've sacrificed marriage, in the past for art. It's gotten in the way of things, but it's like you make these huge sacrifices. People don't understand that. So people that jumped in the game long ago, but haven't been in the game, or people that are just jumping in now, and they feel they're on your level. And I don't want to say on your level, we're all equals, or to anyone can create. Anyone is, if that wants to be an artist, is an artist if they have that in their soul and their spirit. However, man, it's like when you have 30 to 40 years of sacrifice behind you, you're owed a bit of respect for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make some sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but yeah,
to some degree.
Yeah, but like I've always felt like if you could stay humble throughout your whole career and you don't expect any accolades, you don't expect
no accolades, just no
right.
But not the accolades. I'm way beyond that. Like not want. I would never want anyone to kiss my butt or put me on a pedestal or whatever. But just a degree of respect rather than knocking someone down and saying, "Oh, that guy sucks. He can't sing, or he can't do this, or he can't do that." It's like, man, I've tried for 40 years doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like in that way. In that way.
The people that find fault with the people that have found success in doing it, those are the people that have fallen short in their endeavors. They haven't had the determination. They haven't slept in a van, slept on floors. I remember being in Copenhagen, Denmark, with walking pneumonia, and I had to walk like 2 miles in the snow. It was like minus 25 degrees out. I was sweating my ass off. I was dying, and I'm like, asking myself, I was on tour. It was maybe in 1994. And I was like, why am I doing this? And I was like, right now, my mind and my body's sick, but I do it because I love it. And, and you make sacrifices and you leave home and you leave girlfriends and wives and you live
That's
out
what
of
I'm
suitcase.
saying. Right.
Yeah.
And you got to respect that.
Yeah.
And acknowledge it to some degree, in some degree. You know what I mean? Like, don't just knock it down and go behind someone's back and just say, oh yeah, they suck, or that guy's an a-hole, that guy's whatever, an egomaniac or whatever. It's like it's not about any of that, man. It's just about a camaraderie and a mutual respect. And I extend that respect to anybody, any human being, let alone a fellow artist that's trying to create something or trying to do something cool. You know what I mean? But it's like I don't get, someone that's just trying to knock you down, and like the scene that we came from opposing genres of music, of scenes, with you being in the hardcore thing, me being in the whatever you want to call it, glam, hair band, whatever scene. And it's like back in the 80s, like there was this headbutting, at least from like the heavy metal community. You know what I mean? Like I would go out and
I remember you though. I remember when we were younger.
Oh, I remember you.
And we knew each other, but we had that commonality where you were coming from more of the cock rock scene. They called it like pussy metal because there was broads everywhere. There were.
And that's why I got into
it. Exactly. We got into it because we wanted to be like rock stars, and we wanted to.
I remember meeting you at Patty Watts' graduation party. I remember you and I had this talk like so many years ago, 40 years ago, and you look like Vince Neil. Like you were a hair metal dude at that time, and all of a sudden you cut all your hair and got hardcore. But we started out the same, dude. I mean, I was listening to UFO, and like I grew up on all that stuff, Iron Maiden, Tigers of Pantang, and all that stuff.
I was thinking of that today. You and I had so much in common when we were younger. I'm sure we all came from American Top 40, listening to Casey Kasem, and then next thing you know, we're learning about Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Deep Purple and all these bands.
That's my thing, dude. Like when I was 5, my mom bought me a little 45 RPM record player, and I went with my older cousins to man, what was the name of that store? I think it was called Tops. But I remember she said, okay, you can pick out, I think it was 3 45s. And unfortunately, I was with a female older cousin and a male older cousin. So I got the Rolling Stones' Wild Horses, which at the time I was like, hey, I'm 5 years old. It made no sense to me. I love the song now. But and then my female cousin made me. She said, "Oh, the Carpenters. We've only just begun." And I was like, I remember putting that thing on. I listened to it once, and that was it. I have respect for the Carpenters, that I grew to have. But at that time, I was like, what is this? And then the other record I got was Down by the Lazy River, the Osmonds, and that song rocked at that age. But that's where it started there. And then like a graduate when Kiss came out, Kiss Alive, and that it changed my life.
I'm gonna be expecting you to do a Carpenter's cover now. You know, it's only
Oh,
just begun.
I mean, dude, they
my
have their
life won't be my life will not be complete until I hear you doing that.
Did you ever hear the Red Cross version of man, I want to call now yesterday? It's a Carpenter song. They do it really good, dude. You know the band Red Cross? They do a killer version of the Carpenters. They do a killer cover. Oh, who's that dude?
That's Lulu. Hey, you're making your debut on a
welcome to the
podcast.
show, Lulu.
She's over here.
It makes me want to go grab my pet.
She's eating my drummer's drumsticks, and I'm like, oh, geez.
That's a little cutie.
Yeah.
Is that Pitbull?
Yeah.
She Pitbull?
Yeah, no, she's a French bulldog.
Oh, okay.
3 years
beautiful.
old.
So when did you guys know you made the right decision by doing music or other art forms? How did you know you made the right decision? Being that
when I started getting laid like a motherfucker.
Who wants to go first?
like was described earlier, you know, there obviously was a lot of struggles, right? But when did you know, I made the right decision?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I could mention one thing, you know, we were doing the hard biz for a while, you know, sleeping on floors and all this. And it wasn't like we really struggled that much, but, you know, making enough gas money to get from town to town or whatever. And then we signed with Massacre Records. This was when I was in the Spudmonsters. And we were going to Europe to tour. And we were getting an opportunity to open for Biohazard on this tour. And Biohazard was like absolutely blowing up over in Europe with the Urban Discipline album. And our first show was in an airport hangar in Munich, Germany. And it was like 2,000 people just packed in there, women everywhere. And it was like, wow, man, this is the big time. We got to our record label. They had CDs, LPs, Frisbees, Spudmonsters beer. They had everything. Spudmonsters potato chips, all promotional giveaway stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Potato chips.
And then we're seeing our posters and stuff. And we were like, wow, this is the real deal. So we're getting ready to go on stage. And the singer from Biohazard, Evan, goes, hey, man, these people are going to love you guys. You guys are a really good band. Don't worry if they're not dancing for you. They're going to be interested. Just go out there and do your thing. I was like, all right. So we took it as a challenge. We got up on stage, and I just remember looking at the crowd. I'm like, you motherfuckers ready or what? And I just I ran and I just dove in the crowd. We took off, and the crowd went nuts the whole time for us. And then we're getting off the side of the stage, and I'm walking down the ramp, and I see in the corridor where the merch stand is, there's all these people kind of like fighting. I'm thinking there's this big fight going on. And I'm like, oh, there's some big scrum happening out there. And Evan goes, no, bro. He goes, they're fighting to get to your merch stand. They're trying to buy your merch.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, that was real heavy stuff. And then there was some girls that came up to us later that night, and they said, we would like to know if your band would like to come to our flat tonight and make party with us. And we're like, what? We go to these girls' house, and we're there, and they're just parading around the house in their panties and making us food and all this stuff. And, you know, it's just great night. And then we wake up in the morning, MTV was on, and they played our video for Garbage Day, the song Garbage Day. It was the first time we ever saw it. We were like, what the hell? And I looked at our guitarist, Scott. He was laying on the floor. And I'm like, bro, we made it. And he goes, yeah, dude, this is it. And we thought it was going to be like that every night. That was the very first show we ever played.
Yeah. Didn't Evan from Biohazard, didn't he end up marrying some porn star?
Yeah, he got into porn and all this stuff. They kicked him out of the band because of it. Because, you know, they thought there was some questionable stuff that he was doing. But
really?
He's back with them now, and he's got a positive mindset now. You know, he's into his health, and he's coaching people and stuff. So he's made some changes in his life too.
Wow, that's incredible.
Everyone has to change, man. You got to evolve.
That's a great feeling and story about the merch table for the first time. Yeah, that had to be awesome. I made the right decision, right?
Yeah, and I remember the first night we sold like 150 shirts, and then like all these CDs and stuff. And there's like thousands and thousands of dollars coming through, and we're like, what? You know, it's because we had to sell our merch for the price that Biohazard was selling theirs. They were selling their shirts for 25 Deutschmarks, which is like $17. And we're like, in Cleveland, we're selling our shirts for $5 or $7, you know, because we're just like, whatever, you know, we're not about making all this money, but all this money's coming in, and, you know, and then we're 2 weeks into the tour, the promoter, Carlos Fleischman, he hits us up. He goes, you guys are really killing it on this tour. These people are loving you guys. And he's like, they offered us the Propane Life of Agony tour right after that. So we went and toured with them. And then we ended up doing the MOD tour over there, Billy Milano's first tour ever. And I remember on our first tour with Biohazard, a record label was allowed to make one T-shirt, you know, that they could sell and make recoup some of their money. And they printed tie-dye shirts, and we're like, what are you doing? You know, we're not like some hippie band. We're like, what the hell are you doing? You're going to ruin us. We were all pissed off. That first night, they sold like I said, 150 shirts, and everyone was eating up those tie-dyes. We're like, hey, do whatever. You know,
those are big for a second back in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone wanted tie-dye. I never got that, but
I think tie-dye is like one of those things. They choose it because it catches your eye, and it's like an impulse buy, right?
I remember around that
time. That was like, I don't want to wear this, you know.
Well, around what year was that, Donnie? Like early 90s, 94? Yeah, around it was somewhere around that time. I had a really young girlfriend, and she was like, she wanted all tie-dye concert shirts. Didn't matter who it was. It had to be tie-dye. I'm like, I don't get it, man. But so they knew what they were doing.
We brought those shirts home with us too, because we saw how well they did. We're like, they're not gonna like it in Cleveland. We played our first show back in Cleveland. They sold out one night. All the shirts, like boxes.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, we were like, whatever.
Like that's like when you like it goes back to observing yourself outside of the glass. Like I said, like other people can assess you better than you can assess yourself. Same thing. It's like I missed the boat on it. I would never think that would work, but apparently for whatever reason it works, and it's strange to me, man. But yeah, that would make no sense, man. A hardcore band with tie-dye shirts.
Oh,
yeah, right.
Yeah, I think it's an impulse buy thing. You know, you get it looks awesome, and then you get it home, and I have a Jimmy Buffett shirt the same way. I bought it because I was like, man, that's the coolest shirt I ever saw, and now I never wore it again, basically. You know, because I don't like it, but it looked cool hanging there. They knew what they were doing.
Right.
So how about you, Brad? When did you decide I did the right thing by being the?
I still don't know if I have.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, dude.
It really is time.
Honestly, I'm gonna say, like, I don't know if there was like one defining thing, because it was just like more of a thing. Like over the course of years, like things would happen, and when they did happen, I was like reaffirmed that this is the cool thing. Like with Donnie, he has these stories, like with the D. Snyder thing, and that like there's things that are defining moments. I don't know if my life has been as much that way in a defining as just a general plane of things going on. Like I do remember the first show Priscilla ever played. We played at Peabody's, and the show was sold. I remember, there was a big hype on the band at the time, because MMS there was a few local stations playing us, and WMMS was playing Wake Up the Neighborhood pretty hard. And so it was a WMMS sponsored show, promo show, Buzzard Day show, whatever. And we played the old Peabody's down in the flats. And I remember I was with my roadie, Jody, and I was nervous. I had anxiety about the whole thing. Like, man, is this going to go over? I thought it'd be big because there was a big buzz, big hype on it. A lot of people talking about it. Like I said, a lot of airplay in that. But I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And he goes, dude, you're going to be a local superstar. You're going to be a rock star. You're going to be flying out of Cleveland, man. And I remember the rest of the band was there, and then Jody, I pull up with my roadie Jody, and there was a line around the block, man, like going around the building. And I'm like this is for us? Like, holy shit, dude. He's like, I told you, man. He's like, you guys are going to be big time, man. And like just walking into the building, getting mobbed by people, that whole thing, that whole vibe was, and then playing on stage that night. we couldn't even, it was like the beat. I always compare it to like the early days of the Beatles when they said they couldn't hear their monitors. They couldn't hear anything going on. You couldn't even hear the band playing because the audience was so loud. The place was oversold, overpacked. People were standing on top of the bars, and I couldn't even hear myself singing. I couldn't hear the band playing because the people were singing along and cheering that loudly to everything that was going on. Because like the demo tapes were all out there, so people knew all the songs. Like it got like in the underground, so people were making copies of the tapes and all that at the time. And it was such a big sensation that it was effortless. And all the early shows went off that way. It was like we would play a fantasy theater. I remember Shock Paris did their record release show. They had signed to IRS Records, I believe, and I think either Steel and Starlight. I think that was the first album. They did a fantasy nightclub show as their record release show. I didn't go to that, but that was like a Friday night, and that was their big record release show. The next night, Priscilla sold out the Fantasy Theater. We didn't have a record deal. We sold out the theater. So a few of the Shock Paris got the drummer at the time. They got a young drummer. And it is weird because the guy, I'd hung out with him a few times in the past at parties and things like that. We were cool. We played pool together. Things were cool. And he throws an ashtray at my head on stage, like sour grapes. Like it made no sense. It goes back to the whole thing about like, I don't understand people's negativity and people being so mean and so angry. For what reason? I did nothing to the guy. I was friends. I played pool with the guy. I went to parties that this guy was at, that we hung out together. You know, I had beers together, and now he's throwing an ashtray at my head. You know, I mean, my bouncers, my roadies grabbed them, security grabbed them and threw him out of the place. You know, I mean, it just missed my head. But could you imagine if the thing would have connected? I mean, the show would have, you know, went down. I would have went down. I'd have had to get rushed to the hospital. He'd have had a giant lawsuit. He'd have been in prison for what he did. It would have been a giant mess. And for what? You know, because my band, you know what I'm saying. I mean, I don't have to connect the dots on that. But things like that through my whole life has been like that. And like I did another podcast a few months ago, I was talking about all this negativity, and the guy's like, "This happens to you? Why does this happen?" I go, "It does. I could give you a million examples of this. I mean, one after another after another." I gave the guy just several examples. He's like, "Come on, all this stuff happens to you?" I go, "All the time, man." And I just don't get it. You know, like, what's the point to that? You know, and that's why like someone like Donnie, it's like, wow, man, this is such a.
That's what I was going to ask Don, because Don, how can you slow that down? How can you control other people's hostility towards you?
Okay, there you go. That's
a
real
great question.
It is. It really is.
Is it a me thing or a you thing or a combination, or what do we got going on there?
I've always seen Brad as one of the nicest guys in the music scene. I don't know why anybody would want to be a jerk to him.
I stay in my own lane, man. I try not to cause friction.
Yeah, they say you can lead somebody further than you can push them. So I don't try to push my beliefs or push my agenda on anybody. I just try to lead by being a good example myself. I encourage bands, all bands. Spudmonsters were known for playing with bands outside their genre. We weren't one of those, oh, if it's not hardcore, then we don't want to play with you, because that's just negative. I want to play with the bands that sound like Poison. I want to play with the bands that sound like Motorhead. You know, I want to experience everything. The new One Life All In album, people say there's so many different inspirations on there to them. You know, like we have a Faith No More song that we covered on there. There's a song on there that sounds like a cross between Motorhead and the Beastie Boys. There are songs that have so many different just genres mixed throughout. So that's the thing, you know. It's like I hate, you know, whenever you just put everything into a little, you know. It's right. Like I'm all about celebrating music and really diving deep into all aspects of it. You know, like I said, Brad's been a class act as long as I've known him. He's been a gentleman. He's been really kind. Every time we see each other, big hug, big smiles, and there's love there, you know. And that's the way I try to. That's what it should be with everyone.
I wish the world was like that, man. You know what I mean? I mean, what a great world it would be. The world is beautiful. Nature. Here's the thing, man. I've turned to nature and animals and just the piece of the earth itself, because it doesn't pose me harm. It doesn't ever hurt me. If an animal is going to attack me or kill me or chew me up, it's because it's hungry, or I'm imposing on its habitat, and I'm in the wrong. Okay, animals are never in the wrong. They're just not. They're out to survive, which is the instinct of life itself. However, I know where I stand with nature, so it's so beautiful to me, and that makes the earth and the world beautiful to me. And people are that to me, and I love people. People, and this is the funny thing. I talk about this to people all the time. Children are beautiful to me. Old people are beautiful to me. Handicapped people, people that have mental challenges, that they're beautiful to me because they're so innocent. Anything that's childlike and pure and innocent to me is so beautiful, because I feel I have a lot of love to give, and it's reciprocated by these things because they don't harm me. They're not out. They don't look at me like, oh, you're Brad Slitt, and you're, there's not this preconceived notion of who I am or what I am. And I'm nothing, in the big scheme of things as far as that goes. I'm not Dave Lee Roth or Sebastian Bach or whoever, whatever celebrity you want to put out there. I'm not that at all. But then there's this preconceived notion about what I'm about, or I'm gonna bang your old lady or whatever. It's like, no, man, I come in peace. It's like I just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And be loved and love you and be friends with everyone out there. And Don reciprocates that. He is like that force of nature that is just like, it's just peace. In his presence, it's not going to be a threat, and that's so cool. So cool, and that's the thing. Like, that's what I was touching on earlier, Don. It's like, that's my thing with life itself.
Yeah.
Because I learned to understand the beauty of life. Because there was times I talked to you where I was in a dark place, man, where I was like, I didn't even know, what life was about anymore, and that. But I figured things out to an extent. I mean, we never really figured everything out, but I figured out a lot, and I figured out the beauty of what life is and what it represents and what it can be. And I love that. And nature has all that. You can just be at one and in peace with the universe in nature. And it's like, if mankind was like that, it'd be great. Like Dave, I just told you a story. Like, my wife and I just went to Crocker Park for the tree lighting ceremony, and some guys were, because some girls gave me attention at a bar, and I'm with my wife. Long story. But these guys start problems with me for no reason. I couldn't have been nicer, and it's like, here we go again. It's like, I can't win, man. Like, I'm here. It turns you into I'll say a hermit. I'm not a hermit, but like, man, you really shut things off. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't want to. You know that threat's out there, and as soon as you get out there in public, you're gonna face these people that are just gonna bring this negativity, and you're going to be threatened with getting punched in the face or whatever, and it's like,
that's what I was kind of getting at earlier. First, let me say hi to Cam, Sean, what's going on? And LSB, thank you. Yeah, we have just a slight bit of background noise, so I'm trying to cancel that out.
Sounds like the Peanuts teachers there.
I know. I'm trying to think. Do either of you have more than one tab open by any chance?
More than one what?
Tab open.
I don't know. Here, let me see if I have. I don't know if that. Oh shit.
Whoop.
Okay, there I am.
That's why I'm afraid to mess around with it too much, so we don't.
Well, I closed a thing, but it wasn't like.
All right. Steve, what's going on? Yeah, there's a slight. I mean, I don't know if it's that horrible, but I guess we'll have to deal with it. I don't know. I'll keep working. Here, let me do this. Mike, while I'm editing the mic settings here, let's see if that works. Did that work?
Yeah, man.
Maybe a little bit.
Hey, man, I didn't sign up for this, Dave.
I know I'm not feedback.
I expect a pro quality show here. What's going on?
This is why I got into punk rock, man. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm always shooting for 70%.
All right. Well, we're right there. We're right there.
Right.
70%. All right. So while I'm doing that and adjusting the mics, Mike wants to know at this point in life, what are you guys most thankful for?
At this point in life, repeat that, please.
What are you
Mike
most
wants to
thankful
know,
for?
what are you most thankful for at this point in life?
Don, you go first.
Good friends, family. You know, I'm deeply spiritual, so it's like, you know, like the guidance of, you know, I'm into Eastern philosophy, Srila Prabhupada's books and stuff like that, you know. I don't know. Loyal friends and stuff like that too, you know. And yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I found it. I muted Brad and the echo goes away. So we found the culprit. Let's see. Unmute. So either, let's see, you might maybe have the volume up too much. It's feeding back maybe.
My volume's up too much?
Or else you have two tabs open. Yeah.
You think he has apps open?
I don't have any apps open. Let me try some. No, I don't have any apps open, man.
All right, there. Whatever you did. But no, I spoke too soon.
Hold on.
Two windows. Yeah.
Did that do anything? I didn't have anything open.
Hello. Now
Can you hear me?
still, I'm feeding back, which means it must be just coming through your phone and then into the mic.
It's coming from my phone?
Yeah.
Let me try something. Hold on a second.
All right.
One moment.
What's up, Hope? Good to see you.
Oh, I like that name.
Yeah, Hope arising. Yeah. Let's see. Let me mute him again and just make sure. Hello, check one. Yeah, it's definitely his mic, but we'll get it fixed up.
Did that do anything?
Yep, I think so. Well, almost. Sort of.
I love it.
Oh, Sean says his mic volume is up too much. So your mic volume's up too much. Can you turn
my
down
mic volume's up too much?
Yeah, that's what Sean says.
Wow.
Can I turn that down?
Yeah, there you go.
Stopped.
Oh, almost. Let me see. Let me try.
If I turn it down anymore, I'm not going to hear you guys.
All right, hold on 1 second.
Meanwhile, my dog.
My hearing's not what it used to be, man. I'm not going to hear you guys if I turn it down anymore.
All right, say something now. I think we got it. Well, I mean,
Say
it's
something?
better. Yeah,
is that good?
Better.
It's fine on my end. I don't know.
All right. Hello.
Can you hear me? Anyways, dude. So back to your question. Yeah, it's back to your question. So you don't spend too much time on mic technical difficulties. Dude, you know what I'm thankful for? Honestly, I think about this all the time now, man. Legitimate answer, dude. I'm thankful to be alive at this point because, and Don can attest to this, because I got together with him a long time ago when I was going through, I went through a divorce. I was going through really difficult times, and life itself was so confusing to me. And I was you're wrestling with so much stuff. I was going through so much just a bad scene at the time, man. And it's there was so many times that I was I just wish I was dead, man. It would just be easier if I was just dead. Since then, so many of my closest friends, most of the friends I grew up with, that I spent my youth with, have passed away unexpectedly. And I think about them every day. And the fact that now I'm in a happy place, I'm in a good place in my life. Life is really a beautiful thing now. And I think about what I would have, the times I would have missed out on had I done something stupid or passed away during any of that time. And it's just awful. And then I think of my friends that aren't here to enjoy things and experience. They can't experience a sunrise or a walk in the woods or to hold their dog or just simple things. I built a pond at my old house that I just moved from, and I used to sit out back and like I did all landscaping around. I made it look a very tropical, and there was a waterfall and a fountain in it. And I used to stare at it and just look at the beauty of that itself and think like, man, my friends will never get to experience just this again, man. And it literally, it was so heavy to me. It would literally like make my eyes water. I'd just sit and think and look at that and think, as simple as this is, they're never going to experience this beauty again. So just to be alive I'm grateful for that at this point. I really am. Life is beautiful, man, if you let it be, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely a good answer. And Mike wants to know, what band did you guys first open for that made you feel like you made it?
Well,
or was that even a thing? Was it even a band? Or yeah?
My very first show with the Spudmonsters, we opened for Purgatory, and it was their new singer who replaced Jeffrey Nothing, because they had parted ways with him. So Andy Boyer was singing for Purgatory, and I was the new singer of the Spudmonsters. That was at the Fantasy Theater. That was a real cool show. But then maybe a month later, we opened for GBH, which was one of my favorite punk bands, and that was the moment where I felt like, wow, this is great. So it was real cool opening for them. And then a couple shows after that, we opened for Faith No More on the Real Thing tour. And that was amazing. That was still to this day one of my favorite shows ever. You're up, Brad.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Where was that?
That was at Peabody's Down Under with Faith.
Oh, right on. Right on. When it was in the flat still, huh?
Yeah. Sold out show. It was great. It was on a weeknight too, and it was amazing.
Wow. Awesome. Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Priscilla came out, like we were just doing headliners on our own. We weren't an opening act for anyone. But then like later on, as our career progressed, as time went on, we changed management. We hooked up with a guy named Mitch Karczewski out of Cleveland. And he was booking everyone that was coming through town that was like in our genre, all the hair bands of the time. And we were doing mini tours with all those guys. And man, I don't know. We did some really cool shows with Pretty Boy Floyd. I remember there was one show in Columbus that was just cool. Without going into detail. Oh man, without going into details, it was a sold out show at the El Rosabilla, the place Dimebag, got killed. We used to play there all the time. That was a great venue. And like when Dimebag got killed, man, I used to play it out in my head and think like, wow, man, like how like the fact that guy just waltzed in. It's such a long walk. Don, you've played that place, right?
Oh yeah.
El Rosa? Yeah. Yep. Like it's such a long walk from that front door to that stage that no one could stop that guy. That he just did what he did is like unfathomable,
Yeah.
But like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. That was a great series of shows with those guys, with the Pretty Boy Floyd guys. That was a lot of fun for a lot of reasons. I don't know. There was a lot of times like that. We toured did a little mini tour with a band called Hurricane Alice that was on Atlantic Records, and we had a lot of fun times with those guys on the road. They had Jack Daniels on their rider every night, and we would beer bong Jack Daniels, man. And one night,
that's insane.
One night, one morning I woke up in jail. I don't know how I got there. I got disorderly. And we're partying at a hotel. The next thing, my roadie's bailing me out of jail. I don't even know how I got there, man. Completely. But I don't know.
Must have been a good time. Must have been a good time.
Right.
Either a real good time or a real bad time. Right? One or the other. Probably a real good time. All times were pretty damn fun back then.
You know what if I could interject? One one of the cool things about opening for these bigger bands along the way, like we got to open for Metallica at Blossom. It was Metallica, Danzig, Suicidal Tendencies, and the Spudmonsters. That was really
Oh,
cool.
wow.
And then, and then playing with Slayer at the Newport Theater in Columbus, and then going to Europe and doing these big festivals with Guns N' Roses and Megadeth and, like all these really huge bands, and like Black Sabbath. We did something, and Faith No More. And it's just so cool. And then you meet these people, and they're real people,
Right.
Yeah.
And everyone is, that's the thing. As you get old, like when you're younger, these guys are gods, they're like these like comic book heroes to us. Then we get older. I mean, I got to that point a long time ago. I don't know about you, Don, but like we're at the point where even if I met someone huge, it wasn't a big deal. It was like they're a person just like I'm a person. It's not phasing me, It's still, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone that I'd really love to meet. And a lot of times when it's just like they say, when you meet your heroes, a lot of times you are disappointed. I've met some people that really put a pie on a pedestal, and they weren't that cool, And then there's other people that maybe I didn't quite as high up, and after I met them, I had a different perspective on them, and I thought, wow, this is a great person, man.
Yeah. I wrote about that in my book. This is the latest book, Motivate Me. I wrote, and I have a lot of my tour stories in there. That there's a story about whenever I met somebody who I thought was really cool, and man, they really just turned out to be a shyster. And it was pretty crazy. But yeah,
we were just talking about Blackie Lawless at practice last night. Like when I was a kid, I loved Wasp, and they came through Cleveland. They did the show at the Variety, their first show in town with Metallica. And I just had to take a picture with Blackie. I met the band, and he said no, and he was a real dick. He wasn't even cool about it. He was a dick. And I'm like, wow, man, like I'm a kid. It's like, dude, and it's like that. It changes, just that little thing. And then I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of people about him being
right. I heard a lot about him too, and Yngwie Malmsteen, and some of these guys that like really put off some bad attitudes.
Yngwie, there's a million stories, and the another one that it's funny because I was telling you about how I ran into Ricky Fagan, who's listening last week, and he was telling some good stories about Axl Rose. And I remember you telling me actually not a very good story, Dan, remember?
Yeah.
About Axl? Yeah. And I told Ricky, I go, dude, I think you're the first person that's ever talked favorably about Axl, because Ricky was a tour manager, just to explain that to people that are listening or watching this. But and again, like Rick said, he goes, dude, everyone's got a story to tell, so you can't judge people. And I don't, and I don't, man. But Black guy here consistently bad stories about. But Nikki Sixx is one that actually, I don't know, we were talking about this the other day. I was talking about this with someone. He's a guy that, like, I've heard some bad stories about. Man, I've met him and hung out with him a few times. And that guy's been so cool, man. There was one time I was backstage, and they were getting Motley Crue had to go from Cleveland to either Columbus or Cincinnati overnight, and the bouncer or his bodyguard and everyone was trying to rush him out the door. And he had his kids for the weekend. He had 2 sons with Brandy Brandt, his ex-wife, and he had custody for the weekend. And his kids are hanging out there, and he saw me. He didn't know who I was, And even though I'd met him backstage before, but he meets 1,000 people. But he came over and we were hanging out, and his bodyguard's trying to rush him out the door, saying, "Nick, we gotta go." He's like, "Man, I'm talking," And it was so cool that he took the time to hang out with me for 15, 20 minutes when everyone's trying to rush him out the door. That speaks volumes about someone, you know what I mean? So after that, like, I would talk to like radio DJs, and they're like, I'd do an interview, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I was trying to get Nick Sixx, and he's a real dick. He wouldn't do my." He's really not, man. Like, there might be reasons for him not being able to do your show for whatever reason, but it's not because he's a dick. He's not, in my experience. He's a very nice dude,
Yeah. You catch a person at the wrong time, and it leaves an impression for a lifetime. But most people are pretty cool,
Yeah, most are, unless they just cock you in the back of the head for no reason as you're walking by, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
But no,
they might
I
have
know.
they might have more problems going on than they just don't like signing
And that's
autographs.
the thing, man. It's like they got so much stuff going in. People like I always say, like, people, their own insecurities get the better of them, So like they're gonna take out their own insecurities and their own problems in life on you. They need an outlet for that. It's wrong to do that, man. Like I try so hard. I try to never do that to people. If I'm down, if I'm sad about something or angry about something, I try not to express that and let that out on other people. I keep that within if I have something that I'm wrestling with, But for someone else to just take out their negativity on me, their own insecurities, whatever, I don't get that, man. And I'm not them, and I can't expect someone to think the way I do. But it's just, it makes the world a little less of a kind place to be, like I keep saying, I mean, it's sad that it's that way.
So we got a couple questions coming in, and we'll try to wrestle these questions, and then I have a few more questions myself. But Sean wants to know, when writing music, do you listen to your band's music and find lyrics to that, or do you write the lyrics and then the band creates the music to the feeling of the lyrics?
Well, I've been going first this whole time. I guess I'll say I always get the music and then I write to it. And then the guys in my band, Franco and Clem, my band lives in France, and I'll fly over there to tour and record and to do promo stuff and shoot videos, whatever. But then, now I have a US version of the band for playing over here because our record label said it was okay. Yeah, wanted me to play shows over here, work on the American market too. And my band's been totally cool about it. But like when it comes to writing, they'll send me music. It's usually to a drum machine. And the drum machines nowadays sound just like real drums anyway. So it really sounds like almost like a finished product. I get it. I'll write to it. And then I'll say, hey, can we eliminate this part? Or can we make this go 4 more measures because I don't feel like I'm done here yet, or whatever. We'll talk about it. And then, after discussion, we agree on what's best for it. But I write, and I usually write. I have the sauna in my house. I'll sit in the sauna and I'll write. I like to do things that really make me feel good, or I'll go out in wilderness and write. That's always another thing. Being by water is really nice to write, peaceful environments where your mind can open and just take you places. And I let the songs write themselves.
Do you have, and then I'll let you answer, Brad, but one follow-up to that, Don, do you have what you write about changed over the years?
Early on when I was in the Spudmonsters, we were more of kind of like a joke band. So it was just funny songs, and, punk rock to me back then was, just having a good time. It was all about the party. It was all about, making each other laugh. But then, I got into Eastern philosophy, man. There's a lot of deep stuff that I really wanted to write about as I grew up. Things that happened in my life that I want to write about. And I always want there to be a positive element in the end of the song. So I might write about a problem, but in the end, it's always ending on a positive note. So, yeah, things I've matured through the years, I believe, and I'm still writing to this day, and I've written over 300 songs. And I'm telling you, man, I'm about out of lyrics. But I'm still going.
I have a feeling something's going to happen, and you'll come up with some more lyrics, as you walk through life. But Brad, would you like to answer that? How do you write your?
I guess my inspiration and the way I handle it comes from all over the place. Like a lot of times, many times, I start out with like choruses or a melody line in my head, which is like the hook of the song, which is like where I come from. Like, bass. I have a really hard time. I've tried to write with, do you know Sean? Yeah, I introduced you to Sean Kratz, actually, Don.
Yes. And then he does the studio stuff.
Yeah, he does all kinds of stuff. He's been in so many bands and stuff, and he's a great dude. He's a really cool dude. But he tried to get a like a hardcore type band going with me, hardcore death metal kind of thing, years ago. I was like, yeah, I'm open to trying whatever. Dude, I could not write to it. I just could. He's giving me all these, demos to write to. I couldn't do it. I said, dude, I can only write in certain formulas, man. Like, I'm old school as far as like, you got to have a hook. You got to have a verse, chorus, bridge, whatever. Like, I can only write like that. Like,
I'm the same way, dude.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like,
I have to be able to vibe on the music. Even if I get something and it's formulated to where I can write to it, I gotta feel it, or it's gonna suck.
Same here. Like, and if it doesn't like really drive me, and like the word artist sounds like real. To say I'm an artist sounds really pretentious. I don't mean it that way.
Yeah, I don't even have a paintbrush.
Really. And dude, like, 100 years ago we would have been painting paintings to express our feelings. Now we make music or movies or write books. But man, I gotta feel something that really moves me to commit it to being recorded. Like, I can't, like the old days, like old Priscilla. I mean, if you listen, like, it was just happy go lucky, go out, party, get laid, have fun lyrics. It was simple. It was so simple to write a song, and then things changed. And then, like, by the time you get to like the 8 Lives Gone album, I mean, that was really dark. That was all about depression and wrestling with the thought of wanting to die and things like that. But it moved me at the time. I felt that. It wasn't a positive message, but it was the antithesis of what Don's trying to put out there. In all reality, it really was. It was so dark. But I have to really feel something. Like, when I feel it, I feel it. It's like it hits you. It's like, yeah, this is right. This is gonna work, and I know it right away too. I have a good vibe for that kind of a thing. Like, when it connects and it's gonna work, I know it's gonna work on all levels too. Like, as a song, as a melody, as a lyric, like, it all comes together all at once.
Right.
Great answers. One more question from Mike. What were your guys' biggest failures or problems to overcome in life?
Failures in life?
That's pretty deep, Mike. I like it, though.
You want to go first on this, Brad?
Yeah, you know what? I will, man. Failures to overcome was getting involved with the wrong people and making some really bad decisions, letting down people in my life that kind of gave a shit about me that I shouldn't let down, because I had bad influences in my life and bad people, because bad people will really take you down a really dark road. And like, after my first divorce, I got involved with so many bad people, one after another, and like girlfriends and just people in general, even people that they hung around or friends that I let into my life because of the life I was living, getting back into drugs, things I thought I would never do again. And I did it because I was just down a road where it didn't matter. I thought it didn't matter. I was like, because I didn't care if I lived or died. So I was like, why not? And I just went to a really dark, bad place. And then when I started making movies like that, I got involved with some really bad people doing some really bad things, as far as drugs and things like that. Just living a dark lifestyle that I shouldn't been on that path. But not that I didn't know any better, I just didn't see the light. And that's on me. It's like I always say, if you hurt yourself, if you want to shoot heroin, if you're not hurting anyone, I don't think it's a good idea. But
probably not a good idea. Yeah,
probably not. If it's your passion, if it brings you happiness, I'm not, and I'm not condoning it. That's a silly analogy, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like, whatever you do, it doesn't harm others. Whatever you do that doesn't harm others, man, I'm a hands-off guy. Like, everyone should live the life they choose to live, whatever that may be. But once you start hurting other people with your actions, then it becomes a bad decision. It becomes a bad thing. And there's times that in my life that, like, and after my first divorce, that I did bad things, like, just not out of because I was on a bad path, and not intentionally. People got involved, and like, even everything that led to, my first divorce and things like that. It's just, being around negative energy, and along the negative energy is brought in by negative people, by people that just lead you astray, and they make you think things. It's easy when you're a loving person that wants to believe in the best in people, and you allow people to lead you down a certain path, and you trust in those people. You think, well, okay, I guess it's okay to take this path, but it's not. It's like, and you got to be aware of that. You got to be consciously aware, because there's a lot of people. Again, man, just a lot. There's a lot of bad out there, as the song lyrics to Wild World go. There is a lot of bad out there, and I hate that. I hate that the world has that. But you have to be aware of that, and sometimes I'm too consciously aware of that, which is like, it goes back to what we started on. It's the thing that brings me down so often, so many times, that like I'm so aware of that, like of this negative energy bouncing off of me all the time when people bring this in, and I don't ask for it. I seem to attract it. It comes my way, and I try to avoid it as much as I can.
That's what I was trying to get at earlier, because like, I knew, you remember that book and the movie The Secret,
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And they talk about that. And basically, I think it's just the act of positive thinking.
Yeah.
But they often said that in there, that if you change your thinking around, those people that were out there out to get you, they disappeared,
And you know what? And I changed up people I chose to hang around a lot in the last 7-8 years of my life. A lot. Like, my life has changed drastically, all for the better, and my life has been on an upswing ever since. So I guess maybe that's part of what you're touching on there, Dave, because it's like it was a conscious effort to put bad people out of my life, and I was consciously aware of it. Like, the last road I went down was when I started making movies, and I got involved with all these bad people, and it was just the worst of the worst, and it's just piling up, and like all these people was just bad negative energy and bad things happening around me, and bad vibes, man, all the way around. And I said, you know what? I'm putting my foot down. I'm not going to be a part of any of this anymore. And I consciously chose to change the path my life was going in. And it just went uphill really quick, because I think, I don't know, I don't want to give myself a pat on the shoulder, but like I said, I try to do the right thing. I try to be right with the universe. And like I tell people, it's like, if you look out for the universe will look out for you. I let every living thing that I come in contact with, within reason, know that I love it, whether it's my dog, whether it's a turtle, whether it's a fly, whether it's a spider, whatever that living being may be. I love all living beings. I do. It's what the creator, whatever created us, whatever God is out there, whatever rules over all the galaxies and all the universe, would want for all of us to express. God doesn't want war. He doesn't want opposing facts. Even with what's going on now, in the Middle East and all that, it's never going to end. It's never going to end until it all ends. And everyone wants you to pick a side. Well, there is no side. The side is what's right, which is none of this should exist. I shouldn't be on this side, and I shouldn't be on that side. I should be on the side of the universe, man. What brought all this beauty into existence. And that is that's the path I try to follow, which I think, Don, is like, a similar path to what you do, what you and I have talked about, and you've lived it for so long. I think I'm touching on that. And it's like, I've really seen that. And I've told people like about things that you've told me in the past, and now I'm like, Donnie said this to me like a long time ago, and it didn't make sense, but it makes sense now. And I think when you truly realize that, when you realize that what really matters is life itself and the beauty and the love of all living beings. I know when I look in the eyes of my dog, there is nothing but love there. The love that I feel for that dog, and that dog feels for me. And I know it. I don't care if someone says, well, it's a stupid animal, it doesn't understand, it just needs you. Well, I need her. Okay, it's love, man, and it's reciprocated. And that pureness, and it transcends to even the smallest of living beings, because they only have one life to live. And if you value that life and you respect it and you appreciate it, you understand that its life is valuable unto itself. then you understand what the universe is all about. I know this is like going way off a tangent, but it's really what I feel in my soul, and I do, and that's what hurts me is because I know everyone's not ever going to get that. The world, all the people around me, if I go out and some guy punches me or starts a fight or starts an argument or whatever, he's not understanding that, well, this life and this space is valuable to me, but it's like, I value that. I respect every other living being. I try to, no matter how small. And if everyone did that, if everyone just understood how valuable, how precious life is, and that we should put out love and not negativity and hatred, man, what a beautiful world it would be,
Yeah, it is. I would like to say hi to Mike Reese. Peace, love, and music. Mike, right back at you. Rick Fagan, good to see you. And Rick's got a good question, but I'll let Don answer that in just a second. But Brad, I'd like to say that, you know what, when you know it's a good answer, when you can't remember what the question was. after you heard, that's when you know it was a good answer. It took you down so many interesting paths that your mind just went different places. So
I don't remember what the question was, but it's like, just speaking.
No, I'm saying that as a compliment for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. The question was, what were your biggest failures and how you?
Yeah, right. Don, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, it was all.
Thank you, Mike, for becoming a member. Mike, thank you. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
Don. As far as failures, I think when I was young, I failed quite a bit because I didn't complete what I started. I think the only time you fail is when you finally give up. So failures will happen over and over and over again, but you're not defeated until you stop trying. So if something's worth, working your ass off to complete and, achieve certain goals, then there is no failure. So later on in my life, I don't think I've failed in the same respect that I did when I was younger, because I would start something, I'd get 3/4 of the way through it, and I would just quit. I was quitting. I'm really big into like David Goggins, and I'm about defeating the mind. The mind's telling you to stop doing something, and if you have goals and aspirations to do things, I think you can really go far if you don't listen to the mind. You have to be the master of your own mind, and work hard. Like this dog. This dog's like,
I know,
it won't stop.
Somebody knew your dog by name in chat earlier.
Oh, really? Lulu?
Yeah. Oh, Lulu, that was it. Yeah. Welcome, Lulu, to the show.
Yeah, she's nuts. Look at her.
Hello, Susie B. What kind of dog is Lulu?
Lulu is a French bulldog. Come here. Come on. Susie B wants to see you.
Oh, okay. Mike says, love the vibes. Been watching for a while. Love it. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And again, Mike, thanks for coming. A new member.
Brad Slitt's got the vibe. Brad Slitt's setting the vibe tonight, man.
he's setting the ball rolling. Rick Fagan wants to know, what piece of advice would you give your younger self now that you have experienced your life to this point?
That's a good one, man. Don, you go first, man.
Okay.
If you like to, I'll tackle if you want me to go first. But
what would I give my younger self? The advice. This is a Rick Fagan question. I love that, brother, man.
Yeah.
And Rick, you know what? Rick Fagan, he's been a fly on many walls where he's experienced what rock stars do, and he's a real professional in everything that he does, man. He's a real professional. I've learned a lot from watching his example. Yes. But anyway,
you can bring Rick on your show.
What's that?
I
said you need to bring Rick on your show. You need to bring Rick on your show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got stories. Sorry to interrupt you, Don. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah.
I would tell my younger self, complete things. If you're going to go for it, don't stop in the middle, because that's where I was immature, and if you want something, you better go for it and don't stop until you get it. Sometimes you're going through something and then you realize, hey, this really wasn't the best thing for me, and it's okay to bounce then. But there've been a lot of things that, in life I started and I really wanted, but I wasn't willing to work for it. So that's what I would tell my younger self. And I would tell myself, treat others as you would treat your own mother. You know, like we're talking about people that are bringing negativity onto us, you know, and how do we react to them? That's somebody's daughter or that's somebody's son that's bringing that negativity onto us. So we have to treat them with love and compassion, and treat them like maybe they were our own child, you know, and that would help them.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, that's really important information to remember. And I think sometimes you get too busy in life, and people might take their mind off of we're all humans, right? We're all in this together. And whether it be aggressive driving or whatever, you know, behavior, you just kind of slip and forget that, you know, everyone, right, is somebody's mom, is someone's grandma. Maybe they're having a bad day, you know.
Right. Which kind of goes back to everything that I keep saying, you know, which is true. And I always do try to think of that. And I think about, and Dave, I mean, like, you know, I've talked to you about this before. I think about that and think about that and think about that. So people, I give everyone multiple chances, a dozen chances, 20 chances, with too many chances. I mean, you personally know, Dave, of knives that are put in my back by people, you know. And at some point, at what point do you, and I agree with what Don says, but at some point, like, when you walk away from that, when you know, I mean, and you don't, I'm not an aggressor. I don't meet people head on and say, you know what, now we're going to go to war, you know, because I don't believe in that. I don't, on either side. War is not right. Nothing gets solved. You can't bully people into submission, into believing what you believe in. War, there's no winners in war. You can destroy a country or destroy a civilization or kill a bunch of people, and you could beat them up so bad that you're going to force them into submitting to your beliefs, but they're not giving in of their own free will. They're doing it because you bullied them into that submission. So no one wins, you know. I mean, it has to come from within, man. The war won from within is the battle that's truly won. So, I mean, that being said, I don't know, man. Like, where do you draw the line with people? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but you know what though, Brad? You know, like whenever aggressors bring negativity onto us, we have to remember before we're aggressive back to them, we're not only going to hurt them, but we're going to hurt the ones that they love. That's one thing that helps me to diffuse the anger in me. When I see somebody bringing negativity onto me, I beat the shit out of them or something, you know, or react with the way they're acting towards me. Maybe that's going to hurt this person's mother that I destroyed their kid. I'm hurting more than that person, you know? So that's
right.
one way that I look at things that tries to
help me diffuse
it.
Right.
Yeah, take that anger away.
For me to answer the question about what advice would I give my younger self, I would say to make better choices in the company I keep that I've kept over a lot of time, and I would say kind of touch on what Don said, which is like just to go at things, to commit harder. Like there's one shot that, like, one thing that I missed out on, I think, for my genre of music that I did, that like a lot of my peers ended up making more of their careers, was to move to LA, you know, to the Sunset Strip in the heyday, you know, of the hair band scene, you know, when Poison and Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses, everyone was erupting out of there. People told me, like, dude, you would you know, fit right. You would have had a good chance at breaking out from that scene. And I don't know, it's like playing the lottery. Maybe it would have worked out for me, maybe it wouldn't have, you know. But I do. That's one thing I think back on. And my friend Nick, that passed away recently, that was an old roommate of mine. We used to talk about that a lot. Like, man, we should have moved out there back in the day, you know, like a lot of other. But I mean, I do know other people that went and failed, but at least I would have known, you know. I would have given it the old college try, and whatever came of it, you know. But
I think you would have been huge there. You would have been big.
You know,
yeah,
you know, thank you, man. Like, and that's, you know, people said that, dude, and I do have friends that made it out of there that said, You would have made it too, dude. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have made it. I would have played the lottery though. I would have rolled the dice. Maybe.
You've always been a hustler. I think, you're always out there handing out your flyers, meeting the people and stuff. And that's what that LA circuit was all about.
Yeah.
Even the pay to play stuff, all those guys got their foot in the door and they took off. I think you would have been great out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what? The pay to play thing, I wanted to ask you about this, Donnie. What do you think about how like everything turned into pay to play? Like even in the Cleveland scene, I know, a lot of that started on Sunset Strip, but then like, Peabody started doing it in the Agora and everyone was like, oh, you want to play or you got to sell tickets or whatever. I think it killed a lot of the art.
Yeah. That all happened. That all happened when we were in Europe. When we came back from Europe, our very first time, I heard about bands selling their own tickets and paying to play, and that was like, are you kidding me, man? It's like, no way, man.
I never had to deal with that, man.
Nah, I never once had to deal with that. But
I remember I watched an interview with the guy that bought Peabody's, and it was oh man, what is it? The Sub Cleveland podcast. I don't know if you're on that, Don, but it was oh man, I can't think of his name now. I probably shouldn't even say his name, but the whole thing, the whole hour-long, 90-minute interview, whatever it was all about the money. Like, yeah, this band put in this many people. I made this much money with this. I mean, he didn't even touch on talking about art or like, here's a great band from Cleveland. This band did this. This band wrote this song. This band created that. It didn't even touch on that. It was all about the money factor and who put the most people in. And I remember having a long talk with Chris Zinderpart one time about all the pay-to-play stuff. The owner of PI is actually that bought it from the guy I'm talking about that runs the Agora now.
Yeah.
And Chris, I remember him telling me, him running down his favorite bands, the bands that he thinks should make it. And the reason behind every band that he told me about was because this band could sell this many tickets. Every time this band plays, they sell this many tickets. It was all about like, okay, you haven't once mentioned this band is freaking great. You should hear their music. You should hear their singer or their guitarist or their performance or whatever. It was all about this band sells this many tickets. Dude, that's not what art's about, It's not, man. It's not. It's never been for me. I don't, it's like, but now unfortunately it's become this competitive scene where it is all about selling tickets and selling yourself because you're selling yourself. You're selling your soul, man. It's like, I want to sell my art, not my soul. I don't want to like exploit myself for the sake of playing out.
Yeah, right.
I've never been a salesman. Never. Like I remember when my old manager used to ask me to sell like CDs like from the state, like to announce that, or just like we would take bus trips to New York City to play the Limelight or Cat Club or whatever. He's like, yeah, tell your audience that you're selling tickets, and I get it as a manager. I understand why he was doing that, but I'm like, dude, I can't do that. I can't. I'm not a carnival hawker, man. I can't get up on stage and sell my goods to people. I'm here to perform and entertain people. I'm an entertainer, not a salesman.
Yeah, you're selling. You're selling when you're up there playing your music. You should play in such a way that people are driven to go to your merch table and find out what you guys have because they have to have it.
Yeah, exactly, man.
That's very interesting. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up just shortly. This has been an amazing interview. You guys are both great guests, and come back again. Absolutely. Because again, we barely touched on anything on this first Tuesday night, which we're going to do this, guys. A lot of inspirational stuff in positive feedback in the chat. Social Dig, love it. A lot of good feedback from Sean and others, Mike Jones. So thank you. But in conclusion, we'll start with Brad. Brad, again, I'll go back in after the broadcast and put your Facebook page link in there so people can come over and say hi. But what's going on? What do you have that you'd like to promote? And,
actually, yeah, good you brought that up. Well, we got the show this coming next Friday, December 1st at the Foundry in Cleveland. One and only Priscilla show this year, so it should be a big show. Should be really cool. I'm hyped for it. Been practicing for it. The band sounds great. So I got that going. And from that, I'm already talking to people that want to book the band on other shows. And like we're talking about at practice, everyone, the whole band's hyped on doing more shows. Everyone says, let's get some shows, book us some more shows. Like, because we're sounding great, everything's going well. But I said, if everyone's into it and the spirit's there and we keep it alive and you know, people aren't fragmenting out again, we'll do it. I'll book shows and we'll, you know, good shows, big shows, cool shows, like as long as they're worth doing. I don't want to just play everywhere, you know, play in people's basements for the sake of playing, but they're good shows.
Right.
Like down, I'd like to do a show, you know, like we were just saying right before we went on the air.
Right. Backstage.
Oh,
It's a
dude,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be all about that, man. Like doing, you know, Priscilla and One Life All In, man. Be cool, man. I'm up for whatever. As long as it's a cool show, you know, it's got to be right, promoted right, and all that. But like I don't like putting together a band and then practicing hard, putting all the hard work in, and then having people leave because then it's like you gotta start from scratch. Don, have you experienced a lot of that with like putting bands together and then people leave and then you gotta start from scratch, you gotta start practicing everything all over again?
Not too much. You know, the project I've been working on in Europe has been really good. Our drummer just left right after we recorded the new album, but he went to like a really big project. So I mean, we couldn't blame him. You know, he's making a living doing that now.
Yeah.
But yeah. You know, even putting together the American version of this band has been like, yeah, it's a lot of work. And then you have to deal with people's schedules. Hey, when can we get together and practice? And I like to practice a lot, you know. I like to be prepared.
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah. I don't want to go out there and lay in it, man. I want it to be golden, you know.
No.
And that's the thing. Like,
I train.
Yeah, right. It's same here, man. I take it seriously, man. I don't want to go out and look like a slouch and look like a has-been. You know, I want it to be a pro show, and I want my band to be like on point. And like it sucks every time I get a band that's like just getting to that point where I'm like, all right, now I can go with it. Like I just did that last year. We played a series of shows and everything was going great. It was going lost momentum and everything was going like all uphill. It was great. And then all of a sudden, you know, I can't even explain like what went on. And then it's like, and then you got to start from scratch again. And it's like, here we go again, man. You know, trying people out and getting it together and figuring out everyone's schedules and getting it all down. You know, getting the whole thing down. And it's a hassle. And for me, like I've sang the songs 1,000 times. I don't want to sing them 1,000 more. You know, like I want to get the practice and have people that know my material. You know what I mean? So I don't have to go through all that again.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
Sean says he's Weasel. Hey Weasel, what's going on? And don't rush it because you crash a bird, take your time, right? Good advice, Sean. And Don, of course, Don has fooseforlife.com, which I already have pinned in the comment section. Yeah. And then as we go through, if I find any more information, I'll also pin that in the comment section to find Don too. Don, we haven't even touched it. You got to come back. We haven't even touched on your books.
Yeah,
and so many other great things that I found at
so much interesting stuff going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. But in closing, Don, is there anything you'd like to promote or add to the show? And again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you both, man. It's been awesome just hanging out and talking. But I got the brand new One Life All In album on Fast Break Records.
All right.
Eye of the Storm. This is one of the best albums I've ever been a part of, man. Very versatile album.
If you hold it up one more time, I've got you soloed out there.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Eye of the Storm on Fast Break Records. And then this is the last album we did, Letter of Forgiveness. Got, you know, all that business going on. And then also, I'm always promoting my book. This is the newest book, Motivate Me. It's a memoir of inspirational quotes, stories, and life lessons. And just a lot to read there. And I talk a lot about touring and just, you know, what's cool about Motivate Me is that like every chapter has a quote that motivated me in my life. And then I tell a story of how it correlates with my life and how it affected me. It's like I had that idea when I was on tour over in Europe. I started jotting stuff down on a little spiral notepad when I was on tour, and I came home with the idea to put that book together, and it was cool. And then here's the Raw Life book. This is old, but you know, recipes. I've made recipes for Brad out of this book. We did the Earthshake elixir. I remember he still had that picture where he posted with us. There's colored pictures.
Hey, do you have that picture?
What's
do you
that?
have that picture? Do you have that picture of Don and I?
I remember.
No.
When you were holding the
right?
Vitamix.
Yeah, we're gonna start a cooking show.
Yeah.
What happened to that dream?
Yeah, I don't
Cooking
know.
new foods.
We might have to revive that.
Yeah, it kind of
fell
into
I'm promoting my books, and then the band One Life All In. Man, we're gonna be playing some more shows. I'm looking to maybe do a couple national shows just to kind of play in front of some bigger crowds. But you know what? I'll tell you what. Local radio and everything, Rockstar Radio with Big Bry, from Cleveland. He does Level Up Cleveland. He's been playing us all the time on his show. So I'm throwing props to him. Bill Peters always playing local
touching on that real quick, Don. And this goes back to the negativity and people, whatever. Bill, he put Priscilla on as we were the first non-heavy metal band to play the Christmas JCU ball back a few years ago. And and Bill was so excited about it. He was all hyped up on it, and it was awesome, man. He's such a good dude and so cool, and he's always been in my corner and always been on my side. And you tell me your feelings about this, like Bill, he'd been asking me, to do it for a few years, and I said, Bill, I don't see it happen. I don't want to do it for social. And I had my band Slitt going at the time, and we played it. And then, when I put Priscilla back together, he's like, it just happened, like the kismet happened at the same time. Like I was talking to some of the guys, and then he asked me to do it. He said, hey, I'm about to put the ball, the Christmas show together. Would you be interested in doing it? And I said, Bill, I'll tell you what, man, I'm talking to guys now. Yeah, you know what? If it's I'll let you know within a couple of days. So, I said, yeah, it's a go, Bill. And he was all excited about it. And I go, man, Bill, you're taking a big chance on this one. He goes, not really. No, he goes, it's going to be great, man. I go, Bill, you're going to get a lot of negative response from your audience. He goes, no way, man. He's like, everyone's grown up. It's not what it used to be. Dude, as it progressed and he was playing us on the show and we were going in, I was going and doing interviews and that, he said he was getting so much hate mail, like animosity about the show from his listenership. And he told me all this off the air, I'm just like, I'm airing it out now. But I'm like, Bill, I told you, man. He's like, I can't believe these people are doing this. I said, I kind of do, because I feel it every day of my life. Like I see, what's out there. I get that. I get it. Bill doesn't. He's like immune to that because he's doing his own thing. So he's not like around the different demographics of people. I am, and I see it. I go to a metal bar and I know I'm going to get hate, whatever. So I saw what was coming, and I told him that I go prepare for the storm. And he's like, I can't believe you were right about this, man. Like so many people are telling me, what the fuck are you doing, And I'm like, and he's like, I just can't believe it. It's sad, man. And it goes back to everything I keep saying about people, and it's like, man, why it's got to be like that,
Dude, Cleveland's it's got the best support system, like all the,
dude.
There's so many people like Pat Butler and that they do that 2 hours to midnight show on WMMS, and then like Kenny Kidd's got his own show. Man, it's just playing all the local stuff and helping so much.
You know what though, dude? Here's the thing, and I've talked just like to my bandmates and that. Like the bands of like heavy, like the hardcore stuff, man. You guys will play a show and you'll sell it out, and you got this like following that's die hard, that stayed with you. The hair metal community, whatever label you want, and I hate that because I don't consider myself a hair metal guy. If you listen to my library of music, I'm not a hair metal guy, but if people want to pin it, you know, they see me and they just say, hair metal dude. No, it's not that at all. You know, Bill listens to more of that than I do. Him and I had that talk, Bill Peters, you know, it's like, dude, I don't even listen to that, you know. I mean, I do, you know, but I've never been a diehard. I grew up in that. Like we were talking, you know, like when we were young, we were growing up. That got you laid, man. Yeah, that got you laid. Like, you look like Vince Neil, you know, and it's like, yeah, man, you know, and I look like Bret Michaels or whatever. So it's like, yeah, a lot of chicks, you know, like why not, man? It's easy pickings, you know. So when we're young, you know, and you're looking to fit in. You want a community to hang with, you know. So like I said, I grew up in the new wave of British heavy metal, and I listened to everything heavy before anyone else did, you know. And I was in there. I was reading Kerrang magazine in study hall all the time when I was a kid and stuff, and I was like way ahead of the curve. And you know, and local bands like Breaker was like, those guys were like my heroes, and that was like I was like aspiring to and that. But then I just happened to fall into that hair metal community for, you know, a amount of time, and I was having fun with it, getting a lot of chicks, you know. So it's like, cool. I'm gonna run with this, you know.
Chicks love the hair.
right, yeah. and it became what it became. But going back, I got way off track, so I was forgetting what my point even was. My point being, though, dude, and I've said this to my bandmates, like the hardcore community, the heavy metal, like Breaker can play the Beachland and they'll sell it, you know, they'll pack the place. The hair metal community, dude, did not stick to its own. I don't know what the deal is with that. Like, that was such a fly-by-night thing because those people weren't diehards. They like to think they are, but they're really not, man. They don't support their own, you know? Like the bands from that scene in Cleveland back in the day. Yeah. It's not the same community, man. Those Destructor people and the Purgatory people and the Shock Paris Breaker people, they all stuck together and they have each other's backs. Not at all. Wouldn't you agree, Dave? Like with the hair metal community, man, it was more infighting than anything, man. Everyone like.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I gravitated towards punk, you know. I felt like, well, at that time anyway, there was a lot less of that, you know. So I felt more comfortable with punk. Yeah, I know at that time, yeah, it did feel like everybody was out to get each other. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And to this day, to an extent, to this day, you know, it's like it hasn't gone away that much. There's so much of that. It's like, dude, you know, I don't know. I'm not in a heavy metal band, so I can't speak, you know, for sure on that, like 100%. But from what I've seen, what I've known, it's like, man, there's not a lot of support from within. There's factions of it, you know. There's people that I know have always had my back and that are cool and, you know, that I trust in. But like, it's not by no means is it like a bigger percentage. It's a smaller percentage more than a bigger percentage, you know. And there are very cool people, and I appreciate every person that has ever supported, you know, anything I've done or any of my bands or anything. But I just wish there was more of it, and I wish there was just more of a brotherhood, man. Yeah. You know, like there is for the hardcore scene.
Yeah. And hi, Long Island. Bigfoot, good to see you. And there are so many positive vibe comments from Sean, Mike Jones, and others. Again, appreciate it, you guys. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Brad's got me like the question, and now it was another good answer. Now I forgot what the question was. Yeah. But really good stuff. Really good stuff. So, Brad, the show is on December 1st at the
the Foundry on Detroit Road in Lakewood, Ohio.
All right.
Not this Friday after. It's just like a Christmas show in a sense. But you know, the weather's supposed to be good, so everything's going in our favor. I'm getting a ton of feedback from people messaging me and talking about like the buzz on the street when I go to bars where people are talking about it. So should be a winner of a show, man. Should be a really cool show. I hope so.
I think it will be. The band sounds absolutely fantastic, and it should be a great show. And then Don, you have One Life All In, the CDs, books, and everything else can be purchased at your website at fooseforlife.com.
Yeah. I got hoodies on there, t-shirts, neck beads. There's music on there. There's all kinds of stuff. There's just a ton of stuff on there.
That's awesome.
The shirt and the hat that you gave me, almost every time I wear it, someone will come up to me and say like, "Hey, Foose, man, I love that band." For real,
That's
dude.
awesome.
Yeah.
It makes me feel
Like
good.
I said, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. It's really cool. It's cool to see that,
Well, like I was saying, man, I just always want to throw props to these local radio shows and these podcasts. Like I said, Level Up Cleveland, Kidtastrophe Radio, 2 Hours to Midnight, Roger Ganley and Bill Peters, all these guys that are playing all this stuff, man, keeping it alive here in Cleveland is great. It's amazing, that the level of support, all the podcasts that are here in Cleveland, all the radio support, if bands are putting stuff out, these guys are playing it for everyone,
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And so, that's
cool
that's what I wanted to get. That's what I wanted to get to after you were talking, Brad, you got to reach out to some of these people that Don's talking about. So there are, right. Yes. A support system here locally. And Rick Fagan says it's past Don's bedtime.
I love that guy.
And Rick also says we need another session of these two together. Mike Jones says, calm down and please come back soon, guys. Yeah. So, and I agree with Rick, Mike, and everybody else. Please come back soon, guys, because this went way too fast. It was awesome.
She said.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
I have.
But anyway, thank you guys for being here.
Oh, Brad.
Brad. Thank you guys for being here. Viewers, thanks for watching, and now and in the future.
Thanks for having us, man.
You're welcome. We'll be back tomorrow night. The Thursday night show will be tomorrow night. Geraldine Orozco, makeup for last week, and then Thursday's Thanksgiving. So I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, but I mean you too personally.
Thank you.
And
you too.
And come back soon. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Peace out.